Welcome to True Print for Life. I am your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin and Today we have an exciting episode in store for all of you.
Yes, but before we begin, we do want to let listeners know if you have any kiddos in the car, this might be the time to hit pause because we are going to have an open and honest conversation about some adult-related content. So I would encourage you just to pause and come back when you have some downtime.
Yeah, so today we're excited to have some guests with us, and we're going to be exploring what men wish they knew. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this. Just open, honest conversations about dating, relationship, love, and more. So guests, could you be so kind to introduce yourselves?
Okay, my name is Brittany. I am 28 years old. I'm a Leo.
Tell us one thing you're passionate about.
I'm passionate about social justices.
Yes, you are.
I can't even say it. Social justice issues, mass incarceration, especially of Black men, diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workforce. So stuff like that, I guess.
Yes, you are. You're a great advocate in the community. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we have our awesome second guest.
Hi, I'm Bree. I am 36. I am a Sagittarius, and I am passionate about math education. I teach math to middle schoolers and college students, and I thoroughly enjoy that career. So, pretty excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you. So, ladies, are you ready for this conversation?
No. I was until I entered the door and I realized you had a list of questions.
Well, this is just more so guided. So we are, and just for our listeners, this is just our opinions. We're not trying to give any expert advice here. Like what we say here tonight does not classify all relationships or all situations. This is just general girl chat.
Yes, but it is also based on our experiences. So I think that has a lot of value, right? Mm-hmm. We're not experts, but we have been through some things, and we just want to share with you all and save you some headaches.
Alrighty.
Well, according to the Pew Research, a majority of millennials are not currently married, making a significant change from past generations, which only 44% of millennials were married in 2019, compared to 53% of Gen Xers and 61% of boomers. So I guess we just want to get like your perspective. Like, do you have any initial thoughts as to why you think millennials are not getting married or are not even staying married at this point? If anybody can hop in
at any time.
Do you have an opinion on this situation?
I do, but my opinion is very biased.
Go ahead. Let me hear yours.
So I'm divorced. So that's why my opinion is very biased. I think the reason why millennials are not getting married or staying married is because we don't put the same values as our elders on marriage. We put values on other more materialistic things. For example, I tried marriage, and I'm not saying that this is for everyone, but I don't know if I'll ever get married again, just based off my experience with marriage. What I learned about marriage is it's a piece of paper for the most part. And when you break up, it's a drawn-out process that is painful and expensive for everyone involved. And with me having that experience, marriage is no longer has as big a value as it did prior to me getting married. Before getting married, it was like the end goal. For me, now the end goal is just finding someone that I can literally spend my life with and make memories with and travel the world with. And marriage is like the bottom of that list now. If we get married, that's great. I'm not against it. I'm just like not banking on it, or that's not the goal that I'm working towards when I'm engaging in dating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Brie, because I think that's really important. Just from a person who's gone through that experience, that's your perspective now. Yeah. But you got any thoughts on that, Brittany?
I feel like mine is a little different because I was in domestic partnership. So it wasn't being married, but yet we were doing all of the things a married couple did. So but the problem with that is, what's the difference? Where's the commitment? I feel like there was a lack of commitment by not making certain choices to progress. Mm-hmm. And even if and not even that I necessarily hold the value of marriage, but I think that symbolism is really important and it's something that I believe in. And so being able to not have to speak a word to somebody and you can say, this, right? Even if you're just engaged, you don't have to say anything else. You don't even have to, you know what I mean? So I like the symbol of a ring, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like, a carat or 15 carats. I'm not saying that, but something that symbolizes what it is. So
a couple carats, right?
Well,
like,
I mean, I'm just saying, for other people, right? A band is good. Not for me, but for others it is. So
now you both had different experiences, but then you said it was just a paper, and you say there was a lack of paper. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Right? So from both of your experiences, can you share, now going into the next thing, right? Because sometimes we learn a lot. I don't call it failure, I call it just growing, is what that experience was. So what did you learn from that experience that now you can take into the next one and you feel is going to make you a better partner or wife or girlfriend or fiance?
I want to learn. I'm in a process, because I've been working on this since I decided to separate from my ex, is to value the person that I'm with more, to hold more value to spending your life with someone. I think I took it for granted. And it was probably because and I'm going to say this openly, I wasn't even sure if I should have gotten married. I did it because that was the natural next step. That was what everyone around me was pressuring me to do. And it just seemed like, this is what we should do next. And so I feel like I would like to, instead of just going with the flow of things, I'd want to be more invested emotionally with someone. And that's why I say, marriage is, there's no problem. I don't have issues with marriage. It's just I want it to be the real thing. And I just feel like our generation, we do it for the glam of things sometimes. And I'm here to tell you, that is not the answer. It's no one benefits from that. And by no one, I mean everyone involved in the situation, so.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that you genuinely have to be prepared for. And I think because, getting into a situation because someone else told you to do it, that is
you feel pressure to do it.
Yeah, okay, we've been together so long, this is naturally the next step.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? So there's like a 50-50 when you think of it. They say now marriage is what the chances are 50 or even, or less percent to work. And that goes both ways. You're taking a chance.
Right.
When that happens. But with your perspective, right? And you're not the only person. I know a lot of people divorced. I'm divorced. I know people that have that perspective, oh my gosh, should I do it again? Should I not? But now that if I decide to do anything again.
Yeah, exactly. I think my initial reaction was never again, but now that I've grown and I'm just I really just want to do whatever feels natural. It's just that now, dating prior to that was I want to meet someone I can marry. Now that's not the thought process. Now the thought process is I want to meet someone that I want to engage with for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and that you truly have a vibe with.
Yes, that's so important.
I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. It's I think love is temporary. You can love somebody one day and the next day actually I really don't like you, but I respect you.
But was it love or was it lust?
Girl, that's
90% of the time it's lust for sure. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back for that. Write that down.
I think that's on another question somewhere out here. Yeah, because I think that it's important to love someone, but I ultimately feel respect is what can keep a relationship together.
Yes.
Whether you're married or not. If I lose all respect for you, then I don't think that relationship will ever be anything.
Yeah.
Now, love is, one day I might love you, one day, like I said, I might not love you, but I have to be willing to respect you even in the midst of not loving you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of us get a little caught up because we stop respecting one another. And once you lose that, there's no real coming back from I've lost all respect for you at this point. Yeah.
Respect and caring for other people. So your turn to share your lesson learned from that experience.
I think one thing Christina and I have talked about a lot, or she says a lot, is your bottom line, or what are your non-negotiables is what she always says. And so I think I've learned what qualities I like, or what my quote unquote type is, and whether or not that's good or bad. Because if you keep getting the same results, you can't say that it's everybody else, So I think lessons learned are who I was as an individual outside of a relationship, or outside of a partnership, or a mom, or you know what I mean? Who I am as a professional, but just who I am by myself with nobody else around. And I think that I had to grow into who I was just as my own, like do things that I've never done or experienced and provide for myself in the sense of there's nobody else to rely on. There's no fallback. And that was new because I never necessarily had to do that before. It's always been in a relationship, long-term relationship. So I didn't know who Brittany was and not Brittany and so-and-so or so-and-so's, girlfriend or whoever,
Yeah.
So just becoming an individual, really.
Finding yourself first before you can really because you could easily get lost in a relationship. I mean, we've all, I think, been there in past or present relationships. It's like, do I even like what I like? Or, because
especially when we're young.
Yeah. Oh,
we
especially.
don't know what we're like when we're just starting to find ourselves. Like we're trying to find our. I'm gonna say just starting. I'm pretty sure all of us can think back on a relationship where it was like, why was I? At the time, it felt like a great idea.
Right? You look like, wow, you may have been going through something, huh?
Right. Clearly, you were not ready for the world yet when you were in that relationship.
Especially when you're in a wild relationship. She's like, wow, I was risking my whole life and my freedom.
Wow, yeah.
My whole family.
My whole life and my freedom just for this, temporary moment.
You can shake your head every time you have a memory like, Jesus, Breyanne.
And just be like, thank you for the experience.
So grateful for the growth.
Grateful for the growth.
But I love that you said both of you said something really cool. And I think Christina and I have conversations like this about growth, right? Owning your stuff, right? So if you listen to some of our episodes, you have to own your stuff. So when things don't go the way they were supposed to go, we wanted them to go. We want to blame the other person because it's easier. I think it's just really good to do that sometimes just for a moment. But then you have to own your own mistakes and what you could have done better because then you will never grow. And you both use the word growth and finding yourself and where you are, where you were, where you're going, right? So with that, we want to go back a little bit. So think about when you were growing up. Right? Because some of the things that we're projecting now, we kind of saw this somewhere, right? So tell me a little bit, if you like to share, what did you see growing up in regards to relationships?
I can go first, I guess. So I saw two different things. On one hand, I saw my grandparents who have been married for like 60 years, I think, honestly, 60 plus years. 5 kids that they raised, so I saw this image of marriage through them, and I didn't realize how much I valued it until I saw my parents and the failed relationship that they had, and the trauma and toxicity that was within that. So I knew then I didn't want what my parents had. I wanted what my grandparents had. So then I feel like I almost idolized marriage but in a way that I was like putting it on a pedestal, and it wasn't about who I was marrying. It was about I just wanted to be married. And I remember a boyfriend that I had during college, he called me out on that, and I didn't realize it then, but I looked back on it and I'm like, he was really right, because he said, do you even want to get married to me, or do you just want to be married? And I was like, what? But honestly, no, I wanted to just be married, period. So, and I feel like then once I had a child, I felt a little bit defeated because I'm like, oh, I'm a statistic. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be a single mother or a baby mom, or, you know what I mean? Like I wanted, okay, well then I want to be married to the father of my child. I want to make sure that I have this stable relationship. However, sometimes it just doesn't continue the way it started, And then being able to say, am I in a relationship for myself or am I in a relationship for other people? Right. And I feel like you can't live off of other people because eventually they're going to feel that and they're going to resent that. And I feel like that's why it's harder for sometimes when parents get divorced when their kids are grown, because they've literally watched their whole life with people. So, and I just didn't want, my main concern was my child. I don't want her or anyone to ever feel like there's normalcy in chaos. You know what I mean? And I feel like I grew up with that feeling. Yeah. And I know how it has affected me in relationships, since then. So I didn't want my daughter to look at me as a reflection and be like, well, my mom thinks this is fine. So, when she gets into relationships, it's not only about me, you know what I mean? Like it's a bigger picture, because there's somebody that's constantly like trying to mirror me. So I have to set that example of who I am as an individual.
Makes sense.
Yes, that's really good.
Yeah. And I think that takes us into, you know, just even thinking about our relationships with our fathers, because then ultimately I think like part of, you know, when you become this adult or you start looking for who you can potentially see yourself long term, you know, I never really realized I had daddy issues till I was about 25, and I had to talk to somebody, and they were like, so what's your relationship like with your dad? And I was like, well, what he got to do with this? You know, like I didn't even want to have the conversation, but she said, you know, well, it makes sense. Like if you really don't respect the man who gave you life, then how can you respect like this other individual that you're trying to have a life with? And so when she said that, it took me like, you know, kind of like when someone has said something similar to you, just in terms of just how we internalize other relationships with the opposite sex, or even if you date someone of the same sex, I think it's still a lot of like those relationships that do spill into how we interact with our partners.
Yeah. I would agree.
So your childhood, what did you see?
So I would say I saw the progression of co-parenting, and I say this because both sides of my mom's parents and my dad's parents were married, and I saw that. Like I saw my grandparents. You know, that's all I knew was my grandparents grew old together and they passed away together. And then I met my parents. My parents were engaged. They never got married, and they broke up probably when I was about, I want to say like 8 or 9. And I do have daddy issues. I didn't realize I had daddy issues either. Same experience as Christina. Someone had to point it out to me, and I'm like, that's not even relevant. Like, that's not relevant. But then now that I think about things, it was very relevant, because I so easily dismissed my father. I so easily dismiss men, like, don't need you. Like, if I just survived this whole time in my life with not depending on my dad, and not saying my dad wanted to be an awesome dad, so let me not downplay him. I just didn't respect the lifestyle he chose. And watching my mom be a strong black woman and take care of the kids and, you know, do what a parent should do, and watch my dad, you know, still want to be a good dad, but still make selfish decisions. It kind of, in a way, made me think, you don't need a man. Like, my mom did it fine without my dad, and we all turned out awesome. And so I think that mindset kind of stuck with me. So like I said, I easily dismiss men for that reason, because I easily dismissed my father. And so I saw my grandparents be married, my parents be engaged but never make it married. I tried to be married and just, it didn't work for whatever reason. And now me and my son's father are awesome co-parents. And so I guess why I say I saw the progression of co-parenting, because a lot of my friends have similar experiences where their grandparents were married, their parents either were married and didn't make it or never made it to marriage, and then a lot of us are now co-parents with our kids' fathers. And I think co-parenting was a struggle for our parents. And I think that's the reason why our generation are better co-parents, is because we saw the effects of that and how it affected us personally, and we do not want that for our children. Because that is the only reason why I am co-parenting the way that I'm co-parenting, is because I want my son to grow up happy and to have both of his parents, and that is the drive. And so and that's why I say I saw the progression of co-parenting, because my parents were best friends, by the way. Like, they did not stay together, but you would have thought they were married when you would see them interact with each other. They were best friends. They got along. My stepmom and my mother got along. My stepfather and my dad got along. So I saw that happen. So I think that also helped me put aside a lot of things so that I could be a good co-parent for my son and make things work with his dad, so we can both enjoy raising our kid together. So
yeah, and that just takes a level of like maturity. I think you got to dig real deep.
You have to dig as deep. You have to dig deeper than you ever thought.
It's a whole different topic.
No, but it does all kind of, because we talked about relationships, so, and that is a relationship.
It is.
You know, whoever you have children with, that is a relationship, and so it doesn't always have to be like somebody you're dating or intimate with. It having a child with someone is a relationship.
It is. It's an important one.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not always one-sided. Like, there's a lot of moms out there that are really just make it hard for men to be involved in their children's lives. And so, yeah, I think I love that you brought that up, Bree, because I think co-parenting is something that's extremely important, and it takes a lot. I think our generation is really starting to dig deeper when it comes to like mental health, mental health awareness, really trying to be intentional about breaking those generational curses that I believe previous generations didn't even want to acknowledge. Like, they don't even want to talk about it. We're not talking about what's happening. So I do feel like even though millennials are not getting married or staying married at a higher rate, I do believe that we are trying to be more intentional about breaking those generational curses with how family dynamics are coming down the pipeline.
I think we value family in a non-traditional, like family doesn't have to be traditional anymore. And I think the millennials have really shined a light on that, because our families look so different than when we grew up. They look completely different. And it's because, I think the way that we were raised and watching our parents go through the struggle of love and family and relationships and just wanting to provide a different experience for our children. And not saying any of our parents did a terrible job, because obviously they did the best they could, and a lot of us did. And we all turned out really good. Look how we're parenting. So they obviously did something really well.
Yeah, my kids are living a great life,
that's
by the way.
My son has lived
a little ungrateful.
He's 6 and he's lived a better life than I've lived in 36 years. So
I'm like, you've been out the country. I'm just saying.
Right, absolutely.
I think parenting is a whole different episode that those of us that are not parents are excited to talk about. Like, we have so many opinions when we don't have kids, but we'll talk about that in our next one.
Yes.
But I love this whole topic, and I think co-parenting, the way that I have seen parents do it, is amazing, because it does prevent trauma. Yeah. For the future children, your children can grow up to be happier. I think about our grandparents. My grandparents were the same way. Actually, my grandfather is the ideal man for me. Like, I feel like anybody else I see, I'm like, you're not like my grandfather, right? Like, you just don't compare, right? And that's a hard thing. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because the times are different. But I think one of the things that differentiate us is that they fought. They just didn't see ending a marriage as an option. Where, our parents were like, some of them, I don't think both. I think one of them was like, this is an option. The other one was ready to ride or die. And I think in this generation now, because everything is so instant, right? Instagram is like, well, if you're not cool, I got 20 DMs. What you want to say about that, right? You have 20 DMs. I think we have lost the value of...
We have. I was just going to say something.
Of valuing our partners, right?
Yeah, we have.
So go ahead.
And I also think that our mothers and grandmothers put up with a lot more than we could stomach. And they taught us how to not put up with things. And that's why I think a lot of us are not married or divorced or struggling with marriage, because of our mothers and even our fathers, like, taught us, like, you do not have to put up with anybody's stuff. And I think the message was different for our grandparents and even our parents. And I think it's, like I said, a progression of what family should look like has changed because of how the generations are choosing to raise their children.
Yeah. No, and I think that, that leads us right into, like, another segue is just, I think what we look for in partners also changes as we evolve.
Absolutely.
Because who I thought was popping at 16 is not who is popping at 36.
No, absolutely not.
Or who was popping last year either.
Who was popping last week? Nope. Nope. That was last week. That was last week, Brie. I am not that woman anymore.
I woke up different today. So which I guess leads me to the question is, what do you think you ladies are looking for in a partner now? Like because I think we often talk about manifestation and being extremely clear and intentional about what you want and what you attract. Because I also think what we ask for, we got to be ready to produce that on our end. Like, as women.
Say that. Rewind.
Like, I can't ask for a man to have good credit. He's athletic. He takes care of himself. We can't have this laundry list of things. And we are like...
I am
not even halfway there.
No, so I think it's important that, like, as we talk about what we want, that we're also preparing for that man or that significant other or woman or whoever it is that you're looking to attract. So I guess just like at this stage in your life, after all your life experiences, like, have you given some thought to, what does this partner look like for you?
Yes, right?
Yes.
I think that the things that I value more are things that you cannot associate any sort of monetary value to. So, like, protection, and what I mean by that is, like, mentally, spiritually, physically, even financially, like, just that knowing that somebody always is there. Like, I value accountability and reciprocity. Like, what I give, I expect to get back, and vice versa. Also communication. If you're not feeling, everybody has their days, but just say that. You don't just leave people without conversation, or, you know, especially like if you have a routine and then all of a sudden you just go ghost. That is so traumatic. I don't care how old you are. You're like,
Did you just ghost me?
Yeah, well, I'm just like, are you alive? Like,
Right.
that's all I'm saying. I mean, like, people, you know, I know people that have been here today and then they're not like the next hour. So it's just like when you break a routine, it's just like, I'm not thinking because you're doing something. I'm thinking because, like, are you, yeah, like, is your safety okay? And if it is, then okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's stuff like that. And just trust and compassion and understanding, things that you can't, you either have it or you don't, honestly. And you can't force somebody to be understanding of you and what you have going on. You can't force somebody to be empathetic because they've never had to go through anything similar to that, you know? So it's just who you are as an individual is kind of what it goes back to. Not what you look like or the kind of car you drive or, you know, whatever. Yeah, but those things are important too, though.
Yeah, they
you
don't
know,
play, right?
like, you know,
We're
you
not
gotta
taking it
match me.
completely off
Yeah,
the table.
yeah, like you said, right? Like you gotta match me at this point. I'm looking at it in the sense of you match what I have going on,
Right.
You know, because
Or
I'm
higher.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
High-
like,
you know,
yeah.
little
So you
higher.
have to meet me at the same level. I'm not bringing anybody up. I'm sorry.
Which leads me, like, we have to stop dating
Done that.
for people's potential because I
Yeah.
think that
Done
has
dating.
caught
Just
a
bless
lot
the
of
potential,
people.
bless it,
Yeah,
and let
like-
it go.
Yeah, because we can't change people, and I
No.
think we spend
And
a
we should
lot of
stop trying.
time trying to change people. It's like, okay, I know if I just show him, it'll be fine. Or
We
I'll
have
just
all
show
the time
her.
to
It's
show
like,
him, and we
no,
should
this
all
is
know
what
by
you're
now.
gonna be
Yeah, this is
forever.
who you are,
It's
sir. I'm
cool.
gonna let
I'm
you
just
do
not
you.
for you.
And that's a
Absolutely.
choice. Sometimes you see the potential, you can see it, like it's so clear, and they don't see
They
it.
don't
And
see
if
it.
they don't see it, they're not gonna get there,
Or they just don't want it.
and that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which
So-
brings it to yours. What are you manifesting into your life?
Honestly, one thing I've learned, I've been working on myself since, you know, going through a divorce and just walking away from that situation, like, really forced me to discover who I am, because there was a lot of things about myself that I just didn't know. Like, emotionally, I had daddy issues. I had no idea. But for me, what's most important is how I feel when I engage with you, how you want me to feel when engaging with you. Do you want me to know that you care about me? Can you show me that you care about me? Because one thing I've learned, and I call it dating culture, is how I refer to it, is the dating culture has changed dramatically from when we were 18 and naive and never been heartbroken before, and we're going out there naive, vulnerable, and happy to be vulnerable, to now when we've all been heartbroken trying to date. It's almost like pulling teeth, because everyone, men included, because we don't always talk about how men deal with their healing process, but they have they have issues like we do, and we sometimes neglect that they may be behaving in a certain manner because they have had their own emotional trauma that they are either dealing with, haven't dealt with, or don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And so sometimes they don't really know how their actions can be interpreted by the person that they are trying to engage with. And so for me, the biggest thing is, have you reached a place where you are aware of how you act, the words that you say, how you release your emotions, how they contribute to me? And if you want to if you are there to affect me in the most positive way as you can, and it's not going to be perfect, like, I'm aware of that, but I just want a man that wants me to feel good about what we're doing, and cares that I care, and cares for himself, to, like, wants to care about me. That's what's most important to me. Of course, I want a man that can match my stability and, you know, has reached a level of content in their life where they feel like they're successful, and success looks different for everyone. So I just want someone who wants to make me feel good as much as I want to make him feel good. And I know that's not going to be a daily thing, but I want that to be the goal for both of us. Like, when we do something that doesn't make the other person feel good, we care to bring it back to where the love is, because that's what I've noticed is, like, sometimes we don't know, we're as a human race, we're still working on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
How about you, Maylin? What you looking for?
So it's funny because I was looking for, I think after I've been divorced twice. After my second divorce, I was manifesting what I wanted in a person. First, I was like, what I don't want. I was like, don't do that. You attract what you don't want, right? So let's talk about what you want. And then I realized what I really had to do was start manifesting and loving myself the way I wanted somebody to love me. Because I'm out here asking people to love me a certain way. And I wasn't even loving me the way. Like, I was loving everybody. Like, I love so much. I am love. So I give it because I want to receive it. But I wasn't loving myself. I was loving them so much that when the heartbreak came, it broke me.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, so obviously maybe we should have paused on, what you're manifesting from other people, and let's start working on that person. Would I marry myself, right? I mean, it sounds crazy, but it is. If I found me in a man, would I want to marry me when I meet that person? And at that point, I couldn't say yes, because I wasn't 100% sure of who I was and what I wanted, and how even to love me. So as I am in this self-love journey right now, it's crazy, because once you start loving yourself, then that radiates out, and then people are like really super attracted to you. So it's like, where is everybody coming from? But it's because I am excited. Like, I want someone, when they come to me, like, they're going to see how I love myself and how much I care for me, that they're going to decide real quick if they're going to love me and match that love, or they can't. Not because they're bad people, they just can't. And then they just have to walk away.
I'm about to say, let you be free.
Yeah, let me be free. Let me be a butterfly. That's who I am. So I'm in that journey right now. I think loyalty is very important to me. Don't tell me how pretty I am or how much you love me. Like, you have to show me. I met a really wonderful, we call them labiosos in Spanish, which is like, what is it, sweet talkers? Great sweet talkers. I'm going to need to see some action when it comes to your words, because words no longer mean anything to me. But so I can tell myself I'm pretty every day. Right. I do self-care. I get things that I love. But I feel like right now I'm actually more into action. And really, when you say you care about something, are you doing something to show me that you care about that? Would it be the community? Would it be me? Like you said, making me happy and going back to that. And not giving up. So I don't give up easily. For me to give up, like, you have to do real good. Like, you have to work extra hard for me to give up. So I want someone that's willing to ride or die in a relationship, right? Like, if things are not good, can we work on it? Because I think you can fix things if you both want to work on it.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree. But I think, in just wrapping up, if you could give a message to, either your younger self or just another listener listening about, just kind of what you wish you had learned early on about relationships, about intimacy, even what you define as intimacy, because I think that can vary for different people. What would you say, you would tell yourself or tell our listeners?
Brie, you go first.
Okay. I wish I would have learned to love myself better at a younger age. I think, like, again, I said 18 years old, popping out into the world. We were just naive, ready to fall in love and get married. And I think that if I had did the self-care that I've been doing in my 30s, if I would have did that in my late teens, early 20s, then I may be in a different place in my love life right now. And so my advice is learn to, be alone. It is the safest place in the world is with yourself. And learn to be okay with when you are alone, that you are good, you're golden, and you are taken care of, and you feel loved because you love yourself. So love yourself and take care of yourself and learn yourself. The earlier you learn yourself, I think a lot better your relationships moving forward in life will be. Because if you don't know yourself, you're just going to be reaching and grabbing at everything, and it is a hot mess that way.
Thank you.
I would say trust your instincts.
Girl. We all take a drink to that one. Them red flags be right in your face.
But you know what? There's also green flags that I feel like sometimes are ignored too. So it's like not all negative, but trust your instincts. Like, if you think something is a certain way, it probably is. Like, if you think that this is weird, it probably is weirder than that. Like, so I just think that, and also, like, when you see something positive in somebody, embrace that, because I think after a lot of trauma and abuse that, like, we go through, men and women, that we inflict onto each other, your partners or whatever, that when you do have something really positive, it's easy to be cynical or like almost dismissive. And it's like, okay, like, you just, you take it completely for granted because you are used to being taken for granted. So you start doing the same things that others did to you, you know what I mean? And so, but that all comes back to, like, loving yourself or knowing who you are, because then you will trust yourself. You know, we always ask for trust from other people, but do you actually trust yourself? You know what I mean? Are you really begging for trust from others because you need to, you need validation, you know? Right. So you have to, anything that you ask of others, you have to be able to give to yourself, and that's monetary included. Yeah. So long story short, okay, to answer your question, trust your instincts, okay? Final answer.
That was really good. You know, we were saying what we want, you know, or what men wish they knew, right? So I love that you shared that with the audience and your younger self. Is that the same message that, you know, you wish men knew?
Yeah, what do you want to say to men directly?
Right. And that specific one, unless you want to.
Yeah.
But, like, what do you want them to know? Because a lot of our listeners are men listening to, you know, what we want them to know.
Stop being scared of rejection.
Oh, say that again. You said that a little louder.
Stop being scared of rejection, because I think that's the number one reason why things don't take off. Because men don't want to overly put... and I don't blame you. By the way, I do not blame you guys, because as women, we do it too. But we have to stop being scared of rejection and being better at, when we're genuinely interested in someone, instead of trying to play it cool, put it out there. Yo, I want you. And I want to know, do you want me too, so that we don't waste each other's time. And if we both want each other, no time is being wasted. Let's hop into it. Instead of drawing it out.
She said, but she meant like dating, guys. She meant like, let's go on a date.
Yes,
you know
I mean dating. I don't know what type of listeners you have, but let me disclaim that statement.
I know what you meant.
Because, you know, dating is... it's just, I feel like that if we would just stop being so scared that we're going to be rejected by the people that we want, because honestly, once you get the number, you've already been accepted. Now it's just now you're just at the point where now you want to put it out there and see, are we compatible? Right. People waste time trying to figure out they're compatible because they play it too cool. And I feel like a lot of situations, people are very compatible, but because we're all in the dating culture and we don't want to be the one that cares too much, a lot of people just don't work out just for that reason. So stop being scared of rejection, and stop being scared that if she gives you her number or he gives you his number, it's already in the books. Go ahead and get to know each other, and really get to know each other.
Yeah, so if you get the right number, you have already been accepted.
Yeah. I don't know too many people that give their number to somebody they just do not want.
Right.
So
I like that.
Thank you for sharing that. What would you say?
Just be honest, like just don't lie. And I think that comes down to, like, you know, basic fundamentals, but hey, maybe not. But it's just give somebody the courtesy of letting them know what your true intentions are, because you never know. The same intentions might want to be, okay? Like, you know what I mean? Because we have certain listeners, right? So I'm just saying, you guys might have the same intentions. However, you're playing the game of, oh, let me act like I'm more interested or more, you know, involved. And then when that person starts to say, oh, okay, and letting you in, then you're like, oh, well, I didn't really mean it. Yeah, like,
that's not what I meant.
Yeah, like, because everybody is not always attached in the same ways. You know, people can separate things too. Like, we're adults. So, you know, just be honest about what you want and also what you don't want.
And respect. When you put yourself, if you put it out there and that's just not for someone, don't take it personal. Don't take, like, the best thing you can do for yourself in your love life is to be your complete honest self to the person that you're interested in, and let them decide what they want to do with it. If they are interested and they can meet that, great. But if they can't, do not take it personal. Go find the person that can.
Because there is someone.
There's someone. There's always someone. Someone's, honestly.
Someone's soulmates.
There's plenty of fish in the sea, so...
That's actually a dating site I heard. So we'll talk about, you know,
I've never
soulmates.
Done that, but I know what you're talking about.
On another time. But I do believe one of the things I want women, but also men to know is just to be themselves. Don't pretend to be who you're not, right? Like, that doesn't get you anywhere far. Like, and then I think sometimes it's because they don't think they're enough. So they have to combulate all this stuff. So that place of coming from not enoughness is what really causes a lot of trauma. So just know that if you don't think that you are enough, then you really have to do some work on yourself first. before you come and hurt somebody with that, because that person that you meet is probably willing to love you as you are and give you all of that person to you. But if you don't think you're enough, you're not going to accept it or embrace it. And that's just chaotic. So just be who you are. Somebody's ready to accept you as you are.
Yeah. This was great, ladies. Thank you again for being here today. And here on True Print for Life, we always like to wrap up our episodes with a little tagline. And so, do you know what our tagline is? You've been listening to our podcast. What is the very last sentence we say at every episode?
Wow, what a test. I mean, we could say it together if you want.
There's only been 2 episodes.
I
know, that's 2 enough.
Okay, so we're going to help you out. We're going to do it together.
Okay.
So we're going to say it at the same time, but the phrase is bigger than you.
It's bigger than you.
It's bigger than you.
So we're gonna do
It's
it
okay. You know,
together.
you are a teacher. That's a pop-up quiz.
We're gonna do the count, and then we're gonna do it together.
It's bigger than you.